guys, Naomi Kyle, and this is IGN's E3 live show streaming on e3.ign.com. Next up, we have a game with a really cool concept, a video game narrator. It's a little hard to explain, so let's just toss it over to Damon and the new action RPG Bastion.
Thanks, Naomi. Viewers, have you ever wanted to have your own personal narrator that describes your every action? That's what you're going to get in Bastion, a downloadable action RPG coming to Xbox Live Arcade and PC this summer. Here to discuss it with us is Greg Kasavin, creative director and developer of Supergiant Games.
Yeah.
Greg, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here.
You must be happy.
Yeah.
You're making this beautiful game called Bastion, and everybody loves it. Every time you show it, you show it at PAX Prime, you show it at PAX East.
Yeah.
Everybody's walking around talking about your game. That must be be a good feeling.
Yeah, it feels really, really good, especially considering we come from making kind of AAA games for big publishers, working on 100-person teams.
Yeah, you were working on Command & Conquer before this.
Yeah, and it was scary at the time to kind of set out and convince our loved ones, like, how would you like it if we stopped getting paid for a while and made this crazy game? But they went for it, and
you guys are just working out of your living room?
Yeah, that's right. We're based in a house in San Jose, California.
Wow.
This game has like more than something about 3,000 lines of narration in it, all recorded in a coat closet of an apartment. So, done kind of in the old-fashioned way, I guess.
The results are very impressive for such a small team. This is an absolutely gorgeous game.
Yeah, our artist is awesome. It's all the work of one artist, Gen Z, who, as soon as we found her, we were like, oh man, we fell in love with this artwork, and it's great to see that everyone else seems to like it too.
So set up Bastion for anyone who's unfamiliar with it. It's an action RPG.
Yeah, that's right. It's the game starts off with a lot of mystery. Basically, the story's unfolding right here through the narrator, but you're this character who wakes up to discover that your world has been literally shattered to pieces. So you make your way for a location called the Bastion, where your people were supposed to go in case anything went wrong. But the only person you find there is an old man who believes he has the power to set everything right, but he needs your help to find the materials needed for this location called the Bastion to kind of recover its true power. So that's the basic setup, and the story kind of unravels through this narration. But the narrator is also, noticing things that you do throughout the game, and it kind of speaks to you on a personal level.
So I imagine players are going to be wanting to see if they can screw with the narrator, right?
Yeah.
Because the narrator will describe things. If you start running, the narrator will comment on that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, one of the moments, or a few moments early on, people will want to screw with the narrator because they'll find that the narrator wants to screw with them as well. So you develop kind of a rapport with him, or at least I hope you will. That it's almost like he's talking to you based on the things that you're doing. But it's not just a play-by-play commentary. That would get old pretty fast. He's really there to add depth to everything that you do in the game, to kind of reveal the context of your actions and help you understand what's going on, kind of the greater meaning of the world and what you're doing here.
So the narration is obviously a key aspect of Bastion, but some of our readers have asked if you can turn it off.
Sure. I mean, you could always turn the volume off on your. We get that question from time to time. There is technically like a narration volume slider if you want to tune the relative levels and stuff. But from us, like as a development studio, we don't see it as optional. It's like if you've played other games where the audio is really important, or the voiceover, we see it as something like that, and we think that it's not going to be something that gets old for people, because the narrator never repeats anything he says, and everywhere you go in the game, there's always kind of a story of why you're there and what you're doing. So he's always giving you new information. So we think it's going to stay pretty engaging.
Yeah, like you said, there's 3,000.
Yeah, something like that. It's turned out to be a pretty big game.
And I imagine, does it break the game if you remove the narration? Is he giving important information that you need?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is story context and stuff like that. I mean, as many action RPGs go, it's a combat-oriented game. Occasionally, you'll need the narrator's help, but he is a story delivery technique, and there as part of the kind of emotional experience of the game. But we're aware that people might play the game with the volume turned off, but first and foremost, the play experience of this game is designed to be really kind of fun and engaging, but the narrator is there to add more meaning and depth to it as well. But you know, it was yeah.
I'm sorry. Who is the narrator? Is he
the
voice
narrator,
actor?
yeah, the narrator is a guy named Logan Cunningham, who's here at E3 with us.
Oh, cool.
He's a childhood friend of one of our studio co-founders, and he's the reason why we pursued this technique to begin with, because we had like an unprecedented level of access to him, because he's like the roommate of our audio director. They just go in their coat closet and record, and you know, most games, like some AAA action game, you know, will record maybe 3 times during production. We must have recorded like 70 times or something, multiple times per week, because the audio is so closely tuned to the level design that we kept iterating, you know, getting it to feel just right and time just right and all that.
So what are we seeing here? Is this early on in the game?
Yeah, this is still the prologue. This is what I was describing before, of like very early on in the game, where you're trying to get to the Bastion location, and you know, you're learning about the narrator, and you're learning about the world, and you're learning some of the play mechanics and stuff like that. You're seeing examples of some of the action-oriented gameplay. We're much more action-oriented than the typical action RPG, in that we have a lot of like timing-based attacks and kind of near misses. Our influences from a gameplay perspective, you know, are not so much action RPGs necessarily, but also like combat games, like, you know, everything from like Bayonetta to Ninja Gaiden, those kind of super tight, responsive types of games. That's the kind of feel that we want.
Yeah, can you describe the combat a little bit?
Yeah, basically there are a variety of different weapons in the game, and our design goal is for each of them to have their own unique mechanics. So it's not a matter of like finding just better weapons. They're all different, and they're all designed to be viable all the way through the game. Here's an example of one of our RPG systems that we're seeing here. This is called the Distillery, and here you can you can choose from these different spirits that give you different abilities, and as you level up, your drink limit increases at the distillery, so you can imbibe more of these spirits and basically specialize your character more and more. So it's not just a matter of getting stronger and stronger like in most action RPGs, it's a matter of specializing and focusing in on a playstyle that you feel really good about. This other structure here is the arsenal, where you can choose from any 2 weapons in the game, be they ranged weapons or melee weapons or any combination, and any of those combinations are viable and you know, can lead to some pretty interesting tactics. So as the game goes on, you just open up more and more options for yourself, and yeah, hopefully kind of zero in on a playstyle that feels really good, whether you're the guy who wants to be, you know, super fast, like darting around like a ninja or something, or more of like the tactical, like hard-hitting type of guy, or somewhere in between and whatnot.
Is there a loot drop aspect of the game?
There is. It's not like a heavy loot-focused game. Like I said, it's more about more about getting like really attached to the weapons and upgrading them and stuff like that. But there's a wide variety of weapons and these kind of mementos and things that you find that reveal more of the backstory. But you're not going to be finding like armor sets and things of that nature.
I see. And what's the progression of the game like? Is it divided into levels?
Yeah, there's kind of basically when you get to the Bastion location, it turns into like your home base, and you start building it up, and there's kind of an overworld map where you start to gain access to more and more locations as you go kind of farther and farther out from the Bastion location out into the wild unknown, as we call it. So we always give you access to multiple areas, but yeah, you go into these kind of discrete areas, these shattered lands that each have their own little stories and things for you to do in them.
Boss fights?
It's funny you should ask. Right on cue. Yeah. Here we are fighting creatures called scumbags, which you know, having creatures called scumbags gives you a little insight into the kind of world that we have. Yeah, this is a pretty fun fight. This is the first, you know, boss fight of the game where this huge guy is like knocking holes in the ground where you can fall through, and the other guys are slowing you down and whatnot. As you can see in this game, you constantly have to be on the move, and it's not the sort of game where you can just absorb a ton of damage. You're just dodging and evading like crazy. And
Bastion doesn't have a specific release date yet, but it is going to be part of Summer of Arcade,
yeah,
which starts July 20th.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah, we're super stoked to be in that.
There, so. The game looks fantastic. Thanks for coming by to show it to us,
Yeah,
Greg.
thank you very much.
Back to you, Naomi.
Crazy stuff. Thanks, guys. As for our fans out there, we really want to know what you thought of that game. Follow at IGN on Twitter and hit us up with the hashtag E3. Coming next, we're going to have a look at Ezio's last big adventure, Assassin's Creed Revelations. Revelations will abound, so keep it locked on IGN.